And welcome everyone to the Hit and Sit podcast, Conference USSSA Talk Show. I'm David Garland, your host, episode number 7. And I was going to say, as we start here, we've got the Hit and Sit bump, as we've got the first place, second place, and third place finisher from Cincinnati here on the show. So let's go around the room, starting with third, Jason Magnum, DeMarini hitter and plays for Monsta. Welcome, Jason. We've got Justin Mucciarelli, who finished in second in Cincinnati, pitcher for Bay Area Legends and works for Pure. We've got Josh Kirsten, who took home the gold in Cincinnati, center fielder for MPT Rentals and hit Suncoast, and who had the weekend off, and we're looking forward to hearing very much about what he did on his weekend off. We've got Joel Sanchez, shortstop for S&E. So welcome, gentlemen, here to episode number 7. So let's jump right into Cincinnati. Right. So we're going to kind of do this rundown here. Josh, we're going to start with you. You guys ended up winning the tournament. Maybe a comment or two about the teams that you played, maybe something that stood out or a player or anything that, kind of was interesting within these games. So Josh Kirsten, MPT, by the way, I have your stats here. 737, 4 home runs, 9 RBIs while running center field and picking up the win. And you guys played Dussault. I hope I got that one right. Cash House, Chick-fil-A, Smash It, and Bay Area. So Josh, you take it from here. Let us know how it kind of went and any feedback or thoughts you want to give.
Yeah. So appreciate it. Thanks for having me again. But Friday night went really well for us. Very similar to how it went for Smokey. We just kind of went out there. We took care of business. So much so that Mark Carucci, our sponsor, actually got to play in our second game, which good for him, bad for us because he's going to let us know about how he played. So, Saturday afternoon, we got to play Chick-fil-A, and I tell you, the third game for us has been the hump game. It's the game that we have struggled with all year, and it was same story here in regards to it was the ugly game that we had to get through. Chick-fil-A, tipped the cap to them. They played really well. They hit the ball well. And they got out on us pretty early. I think a 10-1 lead, something like that, into the third. And lucky for us, we were holding him defensively until our bats woke up and we were able to surge. So got over that hump and played Smash It in the 7:30 game. We were able to take care of business there, and then Bay Area, and tip the cap to Mooch and their squad. And I was watching them play against Competitive Edge and a little bit against Monsta. They looked like they were whacking it all weekend, man. And we were at that point in time, we were just a buzzsaw. We were on fire. We were hitting the ball, making the plays that we need to make. And it was overall a good weekend for us. Unfortunately, we couldn't officially finish the job Sunday, but unfortunately, out of our control is what it is. So.
Very cool. And I don't want to, brag that I got my prediction right, but I did. Do you know what I mean? So I'm 1 for 2, not going to lie.
UNDW got it right. Yep.
Not going to lie. All right, Mooch, let's hop on over to you. First of all, heck of an effort from you guys this weekend. I mean, with Bay Area, I know it's interesting how fortunes can change, on a dime, and it's just pretty cool to see. Bay Area Legends, you held Monsta to 19 runs, Competitive Edge to 17, finished second in the tournament, playing TLC, West Point, Monsta, Competitive Edge, MPT Rentals. So we want to share a little bit about how everything went.
Yeah, I was extremely nervous this weekend. Joey told me if I didn't pitch, he was going to cut me, possibly send me down to the Bay Area B team. So, never been in a situation like that. Never been like a lot of pressure on me, but somehow, we fought through it. We had a tough first game against TLC. It was like 6-5 in the 5th inning. Scored a couple runs late. Corey Miller actually came in and pinch hit for me, I believe, and shut him down. That was a good job out of him. Corey being mainly a role player, it was good to see him, and he played a lot of first this weekend. Then we played West Point. Bats woke up. Kind of a high-scoring game. We finished them off 38-28, which was good. Then we were excited about playing Monsta. We were missing 4 starters, and like Dale said, it was like the next man up type thing. And again, we hit the crap out of the ball there, had a big first inning. I want to give a lot of credit to Dante Broom, one of the fastest guys in the conference, one of our late inning subs that usually comes in for late innings defense in the outfield, played shortstop all weekend, was tremendous. I mean, made play after play, hit the ball. Big props to Dante. And then, we squeaked one out against Competitive Edge, took the lead in the 7th. they were down one, bottom of the seventh. I got to be honest. I figured, hey, no, what can I do out here? They need one run with 6 homers left. They didn't score. We came up big in the top of the 8th. I actually had a big hit, believe it or not. And then we shut them down in the 8th. It was great. And I don't remember the MPT game. So go ahead, J-Max.
There you go. There you go. And just curious, I mean, that first game was kind of a hard-fought win. Then you guys got a ton of momentum. Was there anything, just curious, was there anything said amongst the team at that point, hey, you know, because it was your best tournament of the year, was there anything that happened behind the scenes that kind of sparked it? Or is it just, hey, went on the field and that's what happened?
I got to be honest, like personally, I just feel like when we went into that first game, you know, TLC's a B conference team. I still sense from our guys that they had this weird vibe of they were like upset that 4 guys weren't there, stuff like that. And we just really didn't have the chatter going or anything. And then when we pulled that game out, when we played West Point, Joey pulled us in and said, hey, this is what we got. Roll. That's it. Mm-hmm. Just go. There's, you know, this is what it is. And we just, everybody from there just decided, and we just, I mean, it was unbelievable. I've always said it. Sometimes the best names aren't the best team, you know? And like I was joking with someone, I said, if you actually take the guys that we had on the field, not taking it away from anybody, but if you take the names that we had on the field this whole weekend, we were basically a borderline A team as far as the point system goes. And that just shows you that anybody can beat anybody.
Sure.
You know what I mean? The guys that were in the game, Dante Broom, Corey Miller, we picked up a local guy, John Wheats, who had experience in the conference, has played A and B before in the conference. But it's like they all had something to prove, and they did. They all played their ass off. So I was very proud of them this weekend.
Awesome. Congrats. And I remember actually I was watching one of the games and I saw Dante Broom catch a ball in another zip code. It was a foul ball. I mean, he was over there in an unbelievable diving catch. So it's awesome when you see that effort behind you, I'm sure. So congrats on that, Mooch, on the second place finish for that. J-Mag, I mean, I guess you had nowhere to go but down after the Smoky, right? I mean, you come in, win it. But hey, third place. Do you know what I mean? 615 for the weekend for you, 8 RBIs, and actually it looks like you had the walkathon going on. Eight walks according to our stats right here. So that's awesome. You guys played a lot of games. So you played the Van Wert Frickers, TG Brand, Bay Area, Cash House, Primetime, Smash It, Chick-fil-A. Why don't you tell a little bit what was going on, and you know, was there any hangover from the Smoky, and tell us a little bit about the tournament for you.
Nah, man, I think it's just crazy. As you see, I'm right here at the Cincinnati basketball court, still ready to go get MPT in Bay Area again. We ain't even left. Like, we're still here ready for war. But I'll be aside, man. We came out and we were on fire. Like, we put up 30 or 40 on the first 2 teams we played. You know, we did what we supposed to do. It wasn't so much what they did wrong. And Saturday afternoon at 2 o'clock, we meet Mooch. And I ain't making no excuses. That was probably our worst game. And tip our hats to Mooch. He threw a great game. They came out big in the first. For some reason, we're flat. We usually talk a lot. We make a lot of noise no matter what, win, lose, or draw. And we were just a little flat, and they got us. Like he said, shout out to Dante Broom, man. Dante, I seen him at short, and I'm like, we're really they don't stand a chance. They got an outfielder playing short. But one thing I do know, they got Dave Kessler, and all my years with Precision and Third Street with Dave always finds Sunday, no matter what team he's on. DW called it the other day with Precision, but maybe it's the Kessler effect, I'm going to start saying, because Kessler in his hometown is always playing on Sunday at Cincinnati. So shout out to Bay Area, man. They did everything. They did it right. We didn't. And as soon as that game was over with, it was back to business. We run ruled, I think, every team but the one game we lost. And when we met Gas House, you know, I don't really remember that game that much, but we were kind of looking forward to let me stop here. Primetime. Shout out to Primetime and their infielders, man. Their infield is, man, that shortstop, that middle infield, that second, they were eating everything up on that dirt. I was in the game and I was like, man, this is impressive. You know, anybody can do it on turf, but when you're eating it up like that on dirt. So shout out to Primetime and Tony and his infield. They played a great game. We still handled our business, and we were ready for the showdown with Smash It, you know. And I ain't going to sit here and say Smash It played a bad game. I think we were just on it so good that it wasn't even close, you know. So I'm going to give us props. I'm not going to beat them down. But it was very surprising. And we were ready. We were ready to make that run, and I think we were there. We just somehow we slipped. I can't even say we had a down. If we were down from the Smoky, we were killing it. We were on it, and when we played Mooch and them, we some wasn't there.
Gotcha. That'll happen. And and then quickly you had to find it, which you did. So, well, congrats though on the third place as well for that. For us, real quick, for Siteman Pure, we played Primetime, Extreme Associates, TPA Ware, RBCG, and Cash House. And I want to echo what you just said, Jason. Primetime, boy, did they play really good against us. I mean, it was a great. Sometimes you feel like you win a game. Sometimes you feel like you slip one in that you shouldn't or something like that. This was one Primetime. We were up 5-1 after one inning, and they were like, well, that's about it for you guys. And they just put it on. Really impressed Chris Scott in that game. We weren't sure how the balls were flying, and then we saw Chris Scott hit 3 home runs, and we're like, well, I guess it flies for him. I mean, he can really hit it, and they played great defense, so props to Primetime. Now, something I've learned as a B conference team, when you're playing in a tournament with all the big boys, double A's and majors and things like that, for the most part, with a rare exception, your damage is going to be done in the loser's bracket, right? So we had to have the quick refocus, come back out on Saturday, and we're fortunate to win 3 in a row on Saturday, which was good. And we were one probably inning away from getting back to playing what ended up actually being, I was like, well, we're either going to play Mooch or we're going to play Jason. It was one of the two of you, and we just came up a little short against Cash House in that game. But I want to give a shout out to our pitcher, Eric Conan. He made his debut with us this weekend and just pitched his absolute butt off. I think he put up, I want to say maybe 10 or 11 innings, maybe 10 of 0 runs throughout the tournament, which is pretty cool to see that. And so, I think trending up for us and next time, hopefully we'll win that one more game. So I was happy with that. Now I'm going to ask a risky question here, and then we'll go to quick break, and we're going to talk about kind of the news that everybody's talking about, which is the now infamous Baugh Forfeit. But before we do that, I'm going to ask a very risky question here. I'm a little nervous about the answer. Joel, off weekend for you. What did you do that was legal?
Well, I watched some softball. I'm a pretty big softball fan. Yeah, no, thanks for asking about my thoughts. I love watching that tournament. It was awesome. Number one, MPT won it because they were undefeated, but I'm not so sure you guys would have won it if you guys had to play Monsta. Did you not see Monsta absolutely run, just beating the stuffing out of everybody? And now Monsta does this thing where they lose in the first round, and now whoever they lost to, they get their ass kicked for the next couple tournaments, in a row. They now have a target, because then a couple tournaments ago, they're like, they beat Monsta that one tournament. You remember that? Don't take these guys lightly. Because, I don't know if you remember a couple tournaments ago, Cup 4, I haven't heard them win a game ever since. And now, good old Bay Area, shout out to my boy Zach Watts, always and forever. And then you got the 20-win monster, the trailer. Don't forget him. He's unbelievable. Those dudes can't stop hitting over there. I don't know how you guys slept on those guys. But then, once again, our kryptonite, the good old Chick-fil-A, they're like, oh, no, we always hit like that. Yeah, bet. How many runs did they score? -5? Awesome. I'm really glad they put up a good fight against you, Mags. It was awesome. It was one of those things where, it's glad to watch. But then I'm really I never really saw you guys keeping it in the park before the tournament. I was like, there's no way you guys are going to make it past the third round. You guys completely proved me wrong. I'm here to eat crow for everybody, And then on top of that, Cincinnati's the worst. That's the worst place ever. Worst play ever. There's no wind. The trees make everything stagnant. Those bugs, you confuse it with is that a helicopter or is that a mosquito? And then all of a sudden you need one of those bug zappers with the electrical thing with a generator on the side, because you don't know if you want to eat it later. It has enough meat on it. Bro, you could just take all the people to donate blood out there and just get the mosquitoes themselves. God, that infield. They invented something. It's called the rake. If they could use it once in a while after every tournament, holy smokes! But I took a little swim in the beach. I took a little chillaxation with my kid. I just had to do a little stretchy piece. The feeling of getting old is getting better. Heineken's starting to taste a little better nowadays. So, no, my off weekend was pretty dope. I like it.
Well, we missed you, Joel, because we could have gotten a hit and sit photo right? If we have everybody, maybe that'll be Evansville.
Yeah.
I'm
Feels
really
like
glad you're not really good at giving guilt trips or anything like that. Like,
No, I mean, not at all. I'm just saying that we would have had to Photoshop you in, so we're going to save it maybe for Evansville. I think pretty much everyone's going to be in Evansville.
To do that. God.
Exactly. So we'll get it done. But Joel, good to have you back, my friend, as always. Now, I want to hop to a quick break here. We're going to hop to a quick break because I want to give everyone a lightning fast breather before we get into this a very touchy subject of the forfeits and the rules. We're getting to all that coming up right up next here, right after this break.
Win the game before you ever step on the field. Shop smashthesports.com for all your baseball and softball needs. While bats get hotter and hotter, pitchers are left to fend for themselves. Now, the technology that defends batters and catchers is being used to defend softball pitchers. The Viper Pitcher's Helmet by Schutt is the only NOXI-certified pitcher's helmet on the market, making this the safest helmet in the game. Better visibility and protection, comfortable fit, complete head coverage, 1-year warranty. Get your Viper Pitcher's Helmet only at smashthesports.com.
Alrighty, well, welcome back, folks, to episode number 7 here of the Hit and Sit Conference USSSA Talk Show. I'm David Siteman Garland, joined by our panel, Jason Magnum, Joel Sanchez, Justin Mucciarelli, Josh Kirsten. Welcome, fellas. Welcome back. And now we're going to get into a little bit, the Baugh Forfeit. Now I want to share a little context. Most people in the softball world know about this one now, but I want to share a little bit of context with it. So basically, the rule is, and we'll get into this about, the rule, is that you have to be ready to play 30 minutes before your game time, right? Baugh Ford had a winner's bracket game against Smash It, and they were not there in that allotted time. And we can debate how many people need to be there, whatever it needs to be. I don't really know. But they were not there, and they were handed a forfeit in the winner's bracket, which caused some chaos, right? So the real question here, let's start with this one. Is forfeiting due to being late for 30 minutes too harsh a penalty? And just kind of your general thoughts on the situation. I'm going to start here. Let's start with you, Mooch. What are your thoughts on that? And also, on top of that, is there a better punishment? And then we'll kind of go from there.
It's a tricky question. Me personally, if it said you have to be there an hour before, rules are rules. Okay, that's the bottom line. So it's not like this is a new thing where they just threw in an email on Tuesday when the bracket comes out. It says 30 minutes prior to. I've read some people's comments on the Old Scout or Facebook. Oh, well, that game was a cut game. The game before that was a cut game, and the next game was a cut game. It still said half an hour from your scheduled bracket time. They didn't change the bracket. Okay? So, and then I hear, 6 guys were sitting in the dugout right at the coin flip, and then 3 more came a minute later. No, they didn't. Okay? That's the bottom line. Okay, there was like maybe 3 guys in the dugout, and about quarter after, maybe like 6 were in the dugout and 2 were walking in. That's still late. It's the bottom line. So if it's an hour before, if it's 30 minutes before, it is what it is. But here's the issue, and it's going to happen, and I'll be a guy that does it. If I see 4 guys sitting in the dugout and it's 5 minutes of, I will be at home plate waiting for that coin toss with my phone going like this, 12 o'clock, forfeit. That's the bottom line. Whether it's Smash It, whether it's Joe Blow's Bar and Grill, whether it's Albuquerque, it doesn't matter. So a rule's a rule. It does suck that it happened. Tommy Baugh is a great sponsor, spent a lot of money over the years. I can see where he's angry. But has it happened in the past? I'm not going to answer that question. Okay, where maybe some teams got a little bit of leeway, but they were adamant about it. I've seen emails that it said, no excuses. So that's that. But I will say, you will see, if you are smart, I know J-Mags is laughing, he will be the first guy at home plate with a guy like me going like this. Bink, forfeit. Game over. It is what it is. So, right. And you can't, and I didn't see it, but I did hear Smash It was like, we'll play. You can't do that. Now you're in a worse scenario because the next person could say, hey, it's a rule. So then if they show up and they try and forfeit that team, well, you let them play. So now that they set the precedent, you got to stick with it. So that's my thought.
Got it. Makes sense. And so you're saying also, I mean, the debate a lot of people are having, which I'll piggyback on that and we'll go around the room here, but is that a lot of people are like, well, in 1997, this happened and there was no forfeit because it was a major team or something like, people are going through, not 97, you know what I'm saying? But like people are always saying that, well, in the past it was XYZ, right? Which to me, I don't find necessarily relevant because it's now and into the future. But do you think the forfeit would have happened if it was a major team?
I still think it would have. I really do. I
agree with you. I'm just curious what your thoughts.
The reason I say that is because of the suspensions that have been handed out this year. It's been really harsh to the major teams. So with that being said, yes, I feel they would have done it. People could say, oh, that's bullshit, whatever. But I really believe that they do it. Bottom line is this. Rules do change. Sometimes they change during the season. Hell, now it's 18 teams make the major this year. Kansas City's not the conference championship. It's the last tournament of the year like a regular NIT. So that changed. They did that because of certain equations. Flights being expensive, this, that, whatever it be. So what I'm getting at is there's no tournament this weekend. But if Stroh sent out an email Saturday and said starting in Seattle, this is now a rule as far as anything, a time limit, this, that, home, whatever it is, every coach gets the email. Am I right or wrong? All the players get the email. So if you're running the team and you get an email Saturday and there's a new rule change, it is what it is. How many people showed up in Vegas this year and went, wait a minute, we're yelling at the umpire. They're out of homers. No, they got 2 left. What do you mean? It's 12. No, it's 14. I'm like, guys, don't you read any of this stuff? It said 14 homers. That's the problem. People just, I don't know. Look, I don't like checking my emails, but I see them. You know what I mean?
Understood. Joel, same obviously topic here. What's your thoughts on it?
Black and white.
He wants a hard ball.
Everything Mooch said, excellent point, Mooch. I'm with you 100%. But like, there's no case is the same. You can't be bringing up, back in the heyday when Moses was playing, you can't be bringing up that because something might have happened along the lines of like, I'm not really sure what happened. There's a lot of what ifs, but I'm going to go backwards. Would that happen to a major team? I would say, no, that wouldn't happen to a major team. But the thing is, it hasn't happened to a major team because every major team is absolutely there waiting, like on the dot. Like they will sit there, extra innings, whatever, we'll warm up some more. They're there by like the 3rd inning of the game prior. They have nothing else to do. They're not here big leaguing nobody. All right? Like half of them don't even have day jobs. Happy for them. They have nothing else to do but just, crack out before the game right then and there. So you can't really make fun of those guys. Number 2, it's when dudes like Mooch, right? Which I appreciate that. You're going to go up there and you're going to be like, hey, stickler for the rules. Hey, I tip my cap. You need somebody like that on every team that's going to be absolutely there. Because my lizard brain would be like, we're only waiting an hour and a half. All right, I'll take some more ground balls. I'll just be out in the open. I'll just wait for the other team until the other team's coming to play. Luckily, we do have a couple of dudes that, the Mooch. We call them the cactuses, We see them, but you don't want to really hug them, So it's like you need a couple of those. And they need to go out there and they'll be like, nope. I remember I didn't even know there was a rule of like you couldn't touch the pitcher's ball or you couldn't throw it around because now it's a ball. Until I saw the great Andrew Collins be like, that's a ball. That's 2 balls. Hey, that's 3 balls. And then he stuck the umpire until finally like, yeah, you got to walk this first guy. And I was like, wow. Dudes like that, they teach the game. Now, there's luck and there's preparation. Unfortunately, there's probably some bad luck on that side. They might have had the game before was long. They didn't have enough guys. They don't even know what's going on. I would love to be like, hey, what'd you guys come here this weekend to do? Everything but softball? What's wrong with you guys? But I don't know the whole situation. Something might have happened with somebody. And then when it comes down to it is the rules are there. Somebody who's really good at their job, it doesn't mean that they're good at following every single rule. What makes them really good at their job is when is it an appropriate time to break the rules? Okay? Like if it's a legitimate accident, something happened. If, God forbid, knock on wood, somebody had an accident on the way to the gas station. I think that's appropriate to be like, hey guys, could we get another 30 minutes? You know, so-and-so, you know, he decided to have a couple monsters, but in the end, hey, you got to make an example to somebody. And I think now with these umpires that we have now, which I appreciate once again, heads up to all those umpires out there, I think they're kind of itching now. We're like, we're overcorrecting everything, which I appreciate, by the way, because like the major guys were getting away with a lot. And now they only get away with nothing. And I can't even get mad because they follow every single rule now. And I'm like, they haven't messed up once. We're all just waiting. So, like, no,
Gotcha.
it's not so harsh. And now everyone knows. Now everyone's going to show up to the coin flip with their time. You got 2 minutes and 38 seconds. You better hurry up. You know, so
right.
It's like.
You are going to get a lot more people, I can say right now, being way more aware of that at this point, for sure. So, yeah, Joel, it's interesting. Well, now let's talk to a major player. It's interesting you mentioned as well that there is definitely the rules guy on every single team. There should be, right? We have a guy who's a walking encyclopedia. Do you know what I mean? You're asking me, he's like, oh, yeah, that's rule 14.1, section B, C. He knows exactly what it is. Do you know what I mean? There's usually one of those on each team, which is not a bad thing. Jason, let's kick it over to you on this. What are your thoughts?
Man, I'm kind of torn. I know rules is rules, but sponsors don't grow on trees. Tommy Ball's been around for a long time. He spent a ton of money, I already know. Sponsors are harder and harder to get. Like, if we lose a sponsor over something like this, then this is not good for business at all. It's absolutely terrible. I think it's a few factors in it. Cincinnati, can Wegman give us a cell phone tower within a 10-mile vicinity? You know, it's a dead zone. So it's not like anybody could be like, hey, y'all hurry up. We're on a time limit, because you can't make a call. Like, it's dead. I get no
killing your
service
Tinder
every year.
game?
Yeah, man, it's killing me, dude. So, it's just it could be a few factors, and I don't want to make excuses. Rules is the rules, but that could easily be one of the excuses. And another thing that just started happening, and not to beat a dead dog, but with these terrible balls, the games are finally above instead of behind. Never in my 10, 11 years I've been doing this, we're always hour, 2 hours. You know, we get later and later. So now these games are going so quick because there's no offense. And with these terrible balls, and here we are, teams are actually, finding out they have to show up a little earlier. And again, that could be an excuse. It could not. I'm not making no excuses. I'm just saying that would have been my absolute last decision, because the game needs sponsors. Without sponsors, we don't have no game. We got to appreciate them. If their game time was 12:30 and they showed up at 12:31, hey, that's a forfeit. But that 30 minutes, I don't know. I know it's in the rules. I can't say I completely agree with it. Maybe some kind of other penalty, but I don't know, man. Like, just hard. And I'm just looking at it from a sponsor point and an overall game, point, not just the individual, whoever they were playing, smash it, playing ball forward. I'm looking at it as the overall picture. Like, you never want to run a sponsor out. All the big sponsors are running to certain teams, and they're already hard enough to get, and that's a discussion for another day. So I'm gonna have to side with the sponsors on this.
Okay. All right. Now it's interesting hearing different perspectives on it. Josh, very interested to hear what you have to say about this one.
Yeah, I agree with. I want things as black and white as they possibly can be, right? But I'm to play devil's advocate. From what I was told or informed, there was a comparison point given to Baugh Forweit saying that there was a C team, and David, it might have been your game. There was a C team that showed up. Go ahead. They showed up 15 minutes after the game started or something like that.
Well, I don't have the exact time on it, but I can tell you exactly what happened. So just because some people are unclear on this, I can tell you exactly what they're referring to. So the first team we played, which was an 8 a.m. game, okay, they showed up, they batted, they went 1, 2, 3 in the top of the first. Bottom of the first comes, they have 9 players. It's a forfeit. That's the first game. That was 8 a.m. I was real thrilled about that. That's on the other side. Anyway, so then our next game now would be 9:30 against another C team, right? Which therefore would make it 9, right? Because our first game was 5 minutes. So 9 o'clock was the start time. And from what I understand, and I cannot quote this exactly, right? So other people were looking at the clocks. I really honestly wasn't. I had a lot of other things I was worried about. I do not believe that game did start on perfect time. I want to say that it probably started 9:05, 9:06 with those people running in. Do you know what I mean? So so I hate to say it but I'm telling the truth. That's what I saw.
And I think so I just want as much apples to apples comparison as possible, right? And so like we're talking about in that first game of yours where it was, they only had 9, or let's just say that they didn't have a full team after the game time had already started, their actual game time at 8:00, right? Whereas Baugh Forfeit had their full team prior to their normally scheduled time, right? So again, rules are rules. We all know for the most part that you're supposed to be there for 30 minutes prior, ready to play. Okay. In my opinion, what I'd like to see is give the option to the team that they're playing. Like if it's Mooch, right? We know Mooch is going to say, "Hey, sorry, game, right?
Ball
game, right?" But if Smash has said, "Hey, we want to play," then let's let them play.
Okay. Yeah, that it's an interesting perspective on it, Josh, for sure. I mean, we're going to add something else on that, or is that just kind of
yeah? So I mean, so that was that's one of the things, and I don't know. I think, like J Mag said, with Tommy, with as much history as he's had and much money as he's put in the ball game, you would hate to have something like this affect his sponsorship. He keeps, year in, year out, sponsors teams. He's been a phenomenal sponsor. But I'm torn on it, to be honest with you. Like I said, I agree with Mooch and Joel. Like, yes, rules are rules, and I want it to be as black and white as possible, even with going back to like going into the testing of bats, right, which is a whole other topic. But like same concept, I want black and white, as little of gray area as possible. We're not going to be perfect with that, but it unfortunately those are the rules. They have been laid out, and as Joel mentioned, for major teams, what happened to a major team? Well, we are pretty cautious in regards to being there when we're supposed to be there, and well before that. So I don't know that we would see that situation unless there were extenuating circumstances.
Got it. Yeah, makes sense to me. And I'll give my thoughts real quick on it before we go to our second break, and then we come back for a few more things. I mean, to me, I think conference would benefit from writing down more things into black and white rules. Almost like the Bible of black and white, because I'm a big believer in that too. When you get into the gray area, trouble happens. And I could say this as a sponsor also myself, that, my opinion, I don't love the excuse, well, he's put a lot of money in the game, so the rules are different. Do you know what I mean? They're just in my opinion. Do you know what I mean? And I understand why you guys say that, why you don't want to lose them, and I understand. But, just because you spend money on something, I was thinking about private school, right? Made me think about this. Private school, you spend money on it, you still got to follow the rules. Do you know what I mean? You don't say, well, I'm spending $20,000 a year to send my kid here. We can do whatever we want. We show up when we want. We do what we want. I'm not saying that's what Baugh Forfeit was doing. They weren't. But I'm saying that the idea that everything should be equal regardless if you're a guest C team coming into a tournament all the way up to a major team, I would want it to be the same rules for everyone, but I would also want those rules very clearly stated and what they are and what happens because of that. So I think that everyone would benefit from that, because I just know if we did that, I'd be so mad at myself. Do you know what I mean? And saying like, God, this is my responsibility. How are we not there? And I'm already a stickler for time. So I feel bad for my guys for the next tournament. I'm going to have there like 7 hours before the game. Do you know what I mean? I feel really bad for them because I will be forcing them. We're going to have BP the day before probably. Be there getting nice and freezing cold. But that's just kind of my thoughts on it. But it's a tough subject. And by the way, you're watching this on Facebook. You're watching this on YouTube. I'd love to hear your thoughts. I'm sure we all would. There's such a varying amount of thoughts on this. Type it into the comments. Let us know. I'd be very curious to see what everyone's thoughts on that. And we're going to have a lot more. We're going to talk a little batting practice and some other cool stuff, shifting gears right after this break.
While bats get hotter and hotter, pitchers are left to fend for themselves. Now, the technology that defends batters and catchers is being used to defend softball pitchers. The Viper Pitcher's Helmet by Schutt is the only NOXI-certified pitcher's helmet on the market, making this the safest helmet in the game. Better visibility and protection, comfortable fit, complete head coverage, 1-year warranty. Get your Viper Pitcher's Helmet only at smashitsports.com. Win the game before you ever step on the field. Shop smashitsports.com for all your baseball and softball needs.
Alrighty, folks, welcome back to the Hit and Sit Conference USSSA podcast. This is episode number 7, and we just covered a lot about Cincinnati. We covered a lot about the current topics, all the things that are going on, the forfeits, all that kind of stuff. Going to shift gears here a little bit and talk a little bit behind the scenes about the game itself and just kind of hearing how some of the top level players prepare. I'm going to start with you, Joel, on this one. You're an infielder, obviously. Curious, number one, what do you do, if you do anything, to practice defense? And number two, a big question that's been going around the community, are ground balls before the games necessary or wasted time?
So for BP, first and foremost, you gotta have your little circle of dudes. You can't tell everyone, yo, let's go hit. No, you can't. You cannot. You gotta have your 2 to 3 dudes that you have your little circle that you could, like you tell them you have problems at home type friends. They're not very good at softball, but they love you no matter what, and they don't make fun of you because you play Slowpitch softball. Like that group of friends that they could still throw the ball underhand, not crazy enough for you to hit it. Like that group of friends, like 2 to 3 people max, and then you gotta hit your grounders. If you're an infielder, you gotta take your grounders. Not any grounder is the same. And if you're a guy hitting grounders, please stop apologizing for hitting the line drives and the too hard and the right by. Not one hitter is ever going to be like, oh, was that too hard for you? I didn't mean that. But stop apologizing. Nobody wants to hear that. That's number one. The grounders all day. And then...
Do you do that? Sorry, Joel, I don't want to interrupt, but do you do that when you do BP? Do you have people firing grounders at you?
Yeah. Like before I even start BP, we do a little tossy toss. And then, by the way, fun fact, if you put the L screen as your first baseman, if I could have some type of geographical, whatever, like physics, chemist, somebody who could explain to me the logic behind why is it way harder to hit the L screen than it is a regular human being at first base. Like, I would love the science behind that, because I put a giant screen at first base all the time. That thing doesn't move. That thing's twice the size of any first baseman. And sometimes it's impossible to hit it. And I'm like, very interesting. But yeah, the harder the better. Once again, I use my Maga's little teeny tiny glove, like a little 8-incher, so like if you can catch it with your bare hand, imagine when you put on, your 12-incher, it feels like a nice little canoe, it doesn't matter. You could almost get a little scared. You can still catch it. It still looks like you know what you're doing, And in BP, when it comes to BP, I used to make fun of my boy Tyler Wilde and my boy Joey Camphor and the great Scott Hardling for them videotaping them hitting off the tee. I used to never miss an opportunity to make fun of them. And then one day I hit off the tee, and then I've never not hit off the tee. Like hitting off the tee in the field, you swear it's dumb. You're like, there's only one swing. You're not going to blah, blah, blah. And then you realize how you're swinging, what you're doing, and you're like, wow, I don't know how I've been getting on base this whole time. Like, it's a complete self-reflection. And then once I'm super tired after that, I envision snapping off Ryan Harvey in the 5-6 hole, and I go right back to shortstop, and I have somebody like finish me off at the end of the day. It's like the ultimate glory, and I can hear Karuji in the background like, "Hit it by him, kill him." I'll be like, "My man, that's what I'm talking about."
And Joel, real quick on that too, just because we'll move on here, but real fast is that there was a debate going on about when teams get to the field, they really quickly run out there and take a few grounders. Do you like that? Don't like that? Is it relevant? Because some people are saying waste of time, some people good. What do you think?
I do it because it's a routine and it gets you like in the motion. But it's all about mindset. Like, if you feel good and you don't need any, you want to conserve some energy. If you're older, if you're one of those guys that hits me with if you ain't got it figured out by now, you ain't gonna figure it out. I appreciate those guys. But me, I'm gonna sit my happy ass over there, because who knows what shortstop looks like after every game. Oh, my Lanta. So it's just like, hey, I'm gonna go over there, see what my hands are about, maybe get a little confidence, look over to the other dugout, try to like psych them out, even though I'm the least intimidating person here. But I'm just saying, it's like one of those things. So it's all about how you feel.
Got it. No, that makes sense. And people don't realize too, if they're watching the live streams, that, it's not instantaneous. Game ends, and then the next game starts. I mean, you got, for as fast as guys get on the field to take grounders, they're that slow getting out of the dugout. Do you know what I mean? So you got people getting out of the dugout, and you've got maybe an umpire change. You got the buckets coming in. There's a lot going on, and so you're either standing there, or you're doing something. And I get what you're saying. It's a routine, and I
do want to say though. I've asked many umpires, and the only thing that I have a little bit of a lamentation with is like your first inning is where you get 1 to 2 grounders, so you can throw to your first baseman. The rules, the consistent rules that I've heard from different umpires is the first, the third, the fourth, and the fifth. You're allowed to grab a ball and throw grounders to your infield. So basically any inning but the second.
I can guarantee that's probably not a rule, but we'll check on that.
What? Did you not just hear me say I asked him anything? No.
I'm telling you right now.
What happens is the only thing is that, like, by the 5th inning, if you haven't thrown a ball to first base, who knows what it's going to look like in the game. So, like, right. I would like to, like, I don't know, if, like, make it a thing where, like, we could, like, throw every first and third inning, So it's, like, one of those things.
Got it. All right. We'll add one more thing to worry about. I like it. All right. J Mags, question to you a little bit different, taking a little different angle on this, is a lot of talk is about, ball differences. You got the softball, you got the hard balls, different things like that. And this is an interesting question is there a different swing or approach you have depending on if it's a softball or a hard ball, depending on your situation?
No, I don't think so. The great Todd Ankley, my coach for a long time, used to give us the big 16-inch Chicago ball. And when we had the class again, he says, here, hit this ball right here, learn how to drive it. So that's the same thing I do, whether it's the hard ball or the soft ball. I try to hit as hard as possible. And if it's down, make a business decision. If it's up, it should be gone. And with my BP squad, like Joel said, the BP squad is very important. So shout out to TK, Saad, and Robbie Ross. They've helped me over the years. That's like your little family inside of softball. But I don't change my approach. The balls are the balls. And back to the balls. When we played Mooch, I don't know if he realized this. We had the DM and the DV. So whichever ball was grabbed in that bucket, you might have a hard ball and hit it in the trees, or you might have a ball and kill it and hit it 301 or 299. It just depends. So
or a bunch of grounders.
Yeah. But like when Mooch hits, we don't know what the ball is. I can't dictate off him. He walks about 3 steps up, hits it 102 feet, 103 feet. I just don't know. We can't figure it out. But all BS aside, I mean, you don't know what you're hitting when you hit it, so you gotta have the same approach no matter what.
Okay, that makes sense. Now, Josh, for you for BP, and again, it's interesting. Some people like talking about, the batting practice topics. Some people are like, well, everyone's going to kind of say the same thing, right? Which could be true or different. I mean, like, for example, Jason, real quick, how often do you like to hit during a week?
So if we just played back to back, I'll hit once. If we got a couple weeks off, I hit at least twice. And
okay.
And I do the routine. I go backside, then I go middle, then I pull.
That's it. The BP, but that was interesting about frequency too. But Josh, for you, what's your BP routine? What do you work on when you're there? And just curious, is it different? We oftentimes get a similar answer with this, but I'm just curious if you have any special sauce or anything different that you do.
I don't know if it's different than what others do, but I definitely take BP differently depending on the tournament, right? So going into Smoky, I'm more focused on driving gaps, whereas going into Cincinnati, I'm trying to play the game a lot more and hit the ball down, right? And so typically my BP routine, whether it's 3 or 4 rounds, the first round is just getting loose, hitting barrels, getting loose, just trying to drive head high line drives or better. Don't care really, we're just gonna hit where it's pitched, just getting loose, getting warmed up. The second round, I'm starting to work on holes. So it isn't necessarily that I move around the field in any direction, but it's going to be I'm working 5-6 hole. I'm working the opposite side of the pitchers, working 4 hole, working the left center gap, right center gap, and in some lines. Right, I'm just trying to line drive, keep the ball in, playing the game, swing. Right, and then the third round is going to be driving gaps, trying to hit the fence, come up just short of the fence on a smaller field, left center, right center. and getting loose, and then probably like the last 10 swings of that particular round, then I'm just free swinging, trying to just making sure the home run swing feels good. And then if we take a fourth round, then I'm probably working on something specific that I didn't either like in the prior 3 rounds or something we've got coming up. But I try to keep it pretty uniform. Hit again, like J-Mac said, I'm 2 to 3 times a week, pretty religiously. If we're back-to-back weekends, I still kind of like to hit 2 times a week. I'm just a guy I've always been one that has to work a little harder than everybody else in order to stay on my game. So some guys, it comes natural. I know some guys that don't take BP at all, or take it like a handful of times a year, and they go out and they whack it, and good for them, right? They know their game. It's just never come to me like that. So I've always had to hit more BP than most. Yeah,
that's interesting, because I know most people are at that 1 to 2 for the most part, occasionally another one, and then you get the rare. I remember on my podcast, I had Everett Williams last year, and he said when he's locked in, doesn't like to do anything. Doesn't even like to breathe. Like, he doesn't want to go near it. So it's really interesting to hear different perspectives on that as well. And actually, something that people don't know a lot about, Mooch, and I want to talk to you about this, is pitching. And I actually saw a YouTube video a couple of years ago of like a guy out in the rain, literally throwing pitching, and someone was filming it from far away and go, this guy's real serious about softball, just a random guy. And I was like, this is really cool. But curious, do you actually practice your pitching on your own? And if so, how? Or is it just, hey, something you do, so you roll into the game with it?
I mean, I feel I could throw a strike if I woke up out of a coma, but yes, I still do. Like, I know it doesn't show, but I do take BP once in a while. And when I'm out there, obviously, I always joke because I'm like, everyone calls me to take BP because they know that I could throw strikes, put them wherever. Meanwhile, I got a guy that looks like my, 6-month-old son's trying to throw me a strike. Like, it's like irrelevant to me. I'm like, I'm not even getting a good pitch. But when I'm out there, yes, if they say we're meeting at 5 o'clock, I go there at 4:15 and I bring my bag of balls and I throw pitches. I always do. I've done I'll be the first to admit, if I see a certain pitcher, I mimic John Dombrowski a lot now. I go to the low. I always threw low anyway from a knee and stuff like that. But now I liked how he always pitched, and I took some of his ideas. And I do that. I don't care. Like, some people say, Mooch, you have a totally different style from 2 years ago. And they said that same thing 2 years ago, that I have a different style from 2018. So yeah, I'm always working to get better, and anything that gives you an edge on this mound is key, and especially at my age. So I do what I can, to try and help my team the best I can. But yes, a lot of times I'm out there, many times a year, with a bag of balls throwing pitches, whether it's behind my back, whether it's left-handed, whether it's from the knee, low release, to Purcell legal sidearm, whatever I got to do. So.
Very cool. Well, there you go. So you do actually go out there and do that. It's good to know for pitchers that are looking to improve their game. Now we're going to get to the final thought here for everyone in a quick second. I'm not going to comment on anything personally about BP or doing stuff I'm not good enough. I swung and missed at a ball this weekend. So, that's what happens. I'm not going to comment on it. But I do want to share something that can help people's game, I think. And that's a little game that we learned how to play at the end of batting practice. And this is if you have more than 2 people. So if you have 3 or 4 or whatever, you make someone the all-time pitcher, or you can rotate. And what we basically do is, say you're playing against an invisible team. They score 4 runs every inning. That's what we say. The invisible team scores 4 runs every inning. And then you play it as a game with one guy pitching, and then you're playing. So you're judging whether hits are, with cones or whatever you're doing, whether they're fair. We say we give a home run limit. So if we're playing B, we're like, okay, we have an 8 home run limit, and we just go back and forth. So you get into the routine of getting into the box, being a little bit more of a slight pressure situation than just swinging a bunch of balls. You know what I mean? And that game, I think, has helped a lot of people. So I just want to share that with anyone that might help them in BP. So the fake team gets 4 runs, and then you guys just play it out as a regular game, going back and forth between who's hitting. So let's go around here. Let's do final thoughts. Anything else people want to share here on the way out here of episode number 7 of the Hit and Sit podcast? We'll start here. Let's start with you, Jason. Any final thoughts? We'll just spin around the room and wrap this up.
Yeah, I'm gonna go out of the box a little bit. I don't want to butcher this name, but I want to give a shout out. We had 2 umpires for about 2 or 3 games, and I feel like they need a little shine. I want to say his name, Chavon and Johnny. They were the 2 umpires we had for 2 or 3 games. And, I just want to tell them they did a great job. They killed it. You know, the umpires really don't ever get any recognition. You know, so congratulations to them. They did an awesome job. Also, shout out to Dave Beach, DeMarini, and appreciate y'all for having me.
Awesome. Joel.
Oh, I take a little piggyback off the BP squad. You know, I mentioned that earlier, but like I really like Dave Saunders, Daryl Rowe, Will Leidig, Louis Mendez, like the original four. You know, that there's nothing but business during BP. In the game, that all 19 personalities come out. That's very different. So don't take BP with me if you want jokes.
Got it. Mooch.
Of course, I'd like to give a shout out to Pure Sports, Chris Osborne, Craig Shaw Marquettes. Obviously, I'm a little biased, but three of the best guys out there. I'd like to give a shout out to Tyler Story from Smash It Sports Major Team and Laser Dave Johnson, two of the most prestigious tournaments of the year with the big-time teams, back-to-back offensive MVP, both pure factory hitters. And I'd like to give a shout-out to Dante Broom, Corey Miller, and Jonathan Weets-Roberts, who all stepped up this weekend. They're role players. Jonathan we picked up for the weekend, Weets, and all three of them just balled out, and it was a great weekend for Bay Area. And, of course, a lot of people don't give him the credit he deserves. I always do. I'm biased. He's a buddy. DW. I mean, how anybody can ever say anything negative about the guy for what he does for this game is just mind-boggling to me. I mean, if it wasn't for DW, this hit and sit show might not even be here. Every report is because of DW. He's the one there 15 hours a day, setting up cameras, rain, shine. Hell, I asked him a million times. He knows this. Dale, let me buy you something to eat. Mooch, I'd love to, but I got to stay here until midnight, you know? But the guy is unbelievable, and I tip my cap to him, Dale. You know you're the man.
Love it. JK.
Yeah, so shout out to Suncoast Softball, Lee and Rube. And actually, so we've got an event this week here in Columbus, Ohio on Friday. Cardale Jones has a charity softball game going on at Huntington Park in Columbus, downtown Columbus. It's the AAA ball field for the Indians affiliates. And he's got a cancer charity softball game going on that Suncoast is helping sponsor. Myself, Austin Daw, John Radich, Rob Roop will be down there, hitting a little bit, supporting the cause, helping the players, and we look forward to it. So if you're in town, $20 goes towards cancer awareness, what have you. So looking forward to it. Sounds like a great time.
Very cool. Well, great having everyone here today on the show. Mooch and Joel and the Vanilla Gorilla and JK. Love having you guys. This was a great conversation. My shout on the way out is, of course, always going to be mentioning the Siteman Softball Podcast, which is on Tuesday, sitemansoftball.com/podcast. But I do want to give a shout out. It takes a village to run a team. And I do want to give a shout out to our general manager and coach, Matt Petrov, which is really giving a shout out to his wife, Erin, because she really does everything. But appreciate them. They're the ones that help book everything behind the scenes. And it's really a labor of love, to make this team run, getting hotels, getting the guys there, getting the flights, booking all that stuff for everybody. So I want to appreciate their efforts to help with Siteman Pure. So thank you, everyone. Just a reminder here on the way out, the Hit and Sit podcast, share, subscribe, like, all that kind of good stuff. Keep growing the audience. You keep growing it. We'll keep on coming back. See you next time.
We appreciate you, Dave. Thanks. Mags, the windmill strikeout to Fitzak. You think that pitch was flat or was it a strike?
Nah, it was a strike.
You think so?